All right, everyone, we have the Gold Cup roster here that has been released by Canada Soccer for the men's Gold Cup tournament that's going on. A lot of questions were here, especially in terms of who would be on the roster, who wouldn't be there. And there's probably still some clarification that needs to be made here, just because everything isn't set in stone per se. But we have a bit of a clearer view, and I think it opens up the view for a lot of interesting things. We know already some players won't be there. We know that Alphonso Davies won't be there. We don't expect a player like Stephen Eustachio to be there. However, he has been named. We'll talk about that as we go through. Also, there's a bit of carryover all the way to the Canadian Shield, which is what I didn't necessarily anticipate. I thought it would do that. Maybe they would have gone a little bit more of a rotation piece, but here is the roster. So, Ali Ahmed, Sam Adekubi, Tejan Buchanan, Mathieu Choignard, Derek Cornelius, Maxime Crépeau, Jonathan David, Promise David, Luc de Foucherel, Stephen Eustachio, Daniel Jebison, Alistair Johnson, Jamie Knight Labelle, Ishmael Kone, Kyle Aaron, Richie Larea, Tom McGill, Kamal Miller, Jaden Nelson, Taniel Luesi, Jonathan Osorio, Nathan Saliba, Jacob Schaffelberg, Nico Seeger, Dane St. Clair, and Joel Waterman. Now, the only difference, really, between this and the Canadian Shield is that you have Zoran Bassong, who is out, and he is replaced by Kamal Miller. Outside of that, it is the same roster. And this ultimately brings up the point. I was like, okay, so Bassong was the only player. Maybe it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I said this in the Canadian Shield video, man, but Vancouver is about to get tested. The Vancouver Whitecaps, that is. They're losing Ali Ahmed, Jaden Nelson, Sam Adekubi, Sebastian Berhalter, Brian White. Arguably 5 starters on that team are gone. Hopefully the Whitecaps can keep it going. We're going to need some clarity in terms of what's going on with some of the bigger names. Jonathan David being the first one. He hasn't signed his move yet. So that could put his position in the air. By all accounts and different reports and different posts, it sounds like people are expecting him to play here. May not be the same case for Stephen Eustachio. We do expect him to be with Porto for the beginning. So, with that being the case, he's probably just been named to the roster because you can only have 26 here, and by count, that is 26 players. So, 26 on both rosters again, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think, for me, the thing I'm really looking forward to see is, will we see different partnerships, especially up top? I think everyone wants to see the Cousins play. The Cousins are Jonathan David and Promise David. We saw Daniel Jemison get into the game. I wonder how they're able to play through it there. I would very much love to see what this roster looks like, especially from a starting 11 standpoint. You know they want to push a little bit further with the starting 11. The strongest 11 as they could be, which would mean probably Richie starting in the left back position, Alistair Johnson in the right back position. We'll kind of see what happens with Johnston. He's a player who they gave the Canadian Shield off for rest, and so hopefully that helps in terms of getting him ready to go. But Johnson also is a player who could have a move coming as well. So we'll sit back and we'll watch that. Tejan was a name I thought might be with Inter during the Club World Cup. So I'm curious to see if he's named on the roster just as a precaution, and then maybe a replacement is named for him, and then when Inter is eliminated or maybe they go on a run, he's able to get some run with that. But it's very much the same roster coming through, so I'm very much curious to see. I think the one thing I want to see is what happens at fullback, then also what happens up top. The midfield is curious to me. This could be a really big opportunity for Ishmael Kone to really establish himself. Based off of how the players were grouped and how they were positioned, I don't think we're going to see Nico Seeger as a midfielder, especially with no Alphonso Davies in camp. Which is unfortunate, but then that's could be a big opportunity for a Nathan Saliba or a Mathieu Choignard. I think those two players could really take advantage of the space in the midfield and the opportunity in the midfield as it comes through. On the outside, again, Jacob Schaffelberg is a player that I'm very much curious to see how Jesse Marsch splits the time with a Jadon Nelson. I think Nelson has earned at least a look, if not more than one look. And it may come at the expense of a player like a Jacob Schaffelberg, who maybe is starting to get into better form this year, but there's no argument in terms of this year in the MLS who has had the better season. It has been Jadon Nelson. Also, shout out to those boys who came out of the TFC Academy, some way, somehow. Very much curious to see that. In goal, I assume probably they give it to Dane St. Clair. But could Maxime Crépeau maybe have earned a start here or there, get some rotation before they get into some higher stakes games and see what happens? We'll have to wait and see. But this is the lineup, guys. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you like. Are there players you wish would have been named to it? Maybe you're looking for a little bit more rotation. Maybe there are players you wish maybe we're giving this window off. We'll have to wait and see. I can understand some arguments maybe for the goalkeeper if you think maybe a James Pantemis deserved it at one point. But we'll kind of wait and see. Maybe a Theo Corbianu, a player who I think who has been playing well for TFC, could have deserved a shout for the Gold Cup. But thankfully they have nothing but friendlies for the rest of the year, so they can go look at some of those wide players. I'm not sure if that'll give them the opening, and I think with a Theo Corbianu, how does Marsch see him? Does he see him more as a winger, or does he see him more of a 9? And if it's a 9, I mean, Theo Bair's not making this roster right now, so it's going to be very competitive to make it through. So we'll have to wait and see. But guys, let me know in the comments below. And as always, I'm going to stop talking right here.